We'll start with something simple. Remember we did the PMI the last time. Pluses, minuses, the interesting. So can I ask you to spend 2 minutes, please, thinking about the pluses, the benefits, what's good about coming in on Saturday for class? So 2 minutes on the benefits of coming in on Saturdays, please.
3 hours.
So,
3 morning.
excellent, very good. Yes.
You get to be the participants on the course.
Very good, thank you.
You have a mixed study, which I need to think about all the things they're doing.
Very good, very good.
There's all the book stalls are like the top of our book.
Excellent, yeah, the booksellers are all open.
Potentially useful stuff for the course without even realising.
Right.
Cool, yeah, book.
Very good, yes sir.
It's
Keep it clean.
ideas for actually life.
Excellent,
Over the weekend.
excellent. Very good, brilliant, yes ma'am.
Discovering mind maps. I absolutely love
Wonderful, good, right.
You've more personal time before and after lectures, so it's more relaxed kind of feeling coming in.
Very good, relaxed, and I think, yeah, I feel very casually on Saturdays as well, I do, it's true. Yes. No, yeah, no gown today, well, thank God for that. Even though there is graduation of some of my students, but still, yes ma'am. Not having to prepare for it, brilliant. Very good. Great. Yes, sir. Absolutely, you're learning. Excellent, all right. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes doing the minuses or disadvantages of coming in on a Saturday. So we're doing a PMI, so we're just looking at the minuses, the problems, the shortcomings, the flaws of just coming in on Saturdays. What's bad about coming in on Saturdays? So we're going to spend 2 minutes, please. For the people who did the pluses, just first look through your pluses and see if there's any you can flip around to make them minuses. Sometimes if you look at something that's an advantage, you can just look at it in a different way and it's a disadvantage. Like meeting people, meeting your classmates, something like that. I'm sure it's the way you can flip that around. So go for it. For 2 minutes, please. What is bad? What is undesirable about coming in on Saturdays? Tried the back row. Something bad about coming in on Saturdays, yes sir? Parking, excellent, thank you. Absolutely, yes ma'am.
Yeah, it improves on the weekend.
It definitely, indeed, yes sir.
I had to leave the pub early last night.
Oh, bummer.
It's a great night.
Brilliant, very good. Next row, yes sir, please. It'll be nearly dark, yes, very good, yes ma'am. This is minuses we're doing now, yeah, absolutely, indeed. Yeah. Very true, at best. Yes, definitely, indeed. All right, we'll do one more row, yes ma'am. Perfect, we'll go back one row, yes ma'am. Absolutely, indeed. So we'll do hangovers. If that's a plus or a minus, yes sir. Missing the match, absolutely, indeed. What match? Is it Munster and Leinster again? We always know how they turn out anyway, don't we? Connacht twin. Yeah. Yes, sir. Everything is good about coming in on Saturday for you. Fair play to you.
I'm not available, so mess up.
You're not available for the ladies. Hey, okay. Okay, for the kids. For your children, I hope you're talking about now. For heaven's sake. Perfect. All right, excellent. So now we're going to do 2 minutes just thinking about interesting. So we'll remember that interesting as we look at our minuses. Is there any way we can tweak the idea so that we can minimize the impact of the minuses? Or is there what is interesting about coming in on Saturdays? It might be a good thing or a bad thing, it's just what's interesting. But in particular, focus on, is there some way we could, let's say, not be forced to leave the pub or something like that? Is there some way we could get rid of hangovers? Is there some way, if it wouldn't be dark when we're going, almost dark when we're going home, it's some way we could see the kids and still be here? So is there any way we can think of to do that stuff? So spend a bit of time on that. We'll give it a go, so we might, because we had you already, we'll take it along here. Yes, sir. Something interesting about coming in on Saturdays.
Daydream about what you want.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My lads get a chance to learn to be more self-reliant and responsible.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
You know, I live in hope.
Absolutely.
It just makes me think what I did 3 years before I started coming in on Saturdays.
Excellent.
How I
Excellent.
used it.
That's very interesting. Great. Yes, sir.
Choice of music in the background and self-motivation, the fact that I actually sacrificed leaving a fun-filled environment this morning.
What is the fun-filled environment you live in, man? Okay. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Excellent. Excellent. And this is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation means it's in yourself.
Yeah.
You want to be here. You're making the choice. Extrinsically motivated students like my first years who are 18 and 19, their mammies and daddies are making them go to school. Let's face it. Even if they're 19, their parents are making them go. So you're here by choice, which means you have there's all kinds of benefits to that in terms of your self-esteem as well as everything else. But I'm feeling like I really want to hang out with you outside of school time because of this stuff. It's like dib dab, but yes, ma'am.
It could be that the spontaneity, now that you're 10, you might decide to feel alert, not hungover, go off and do something, do you know,
Definitely.
like a big walk or...
Absolutely. Opens up loads of opportunities. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I'm in the city centre, so I can manage also other things around.
Absolutely, indeed. Perfect. Oh, good stuff. Excellent. All right. All right. So then this is, we definitely all remember how to do the PMI, so no panic. So we'll just recap on the PMI. Yes. You all know how to do it. Then we did the CAF, which is consider all factors. Then we looked at a chicken. And then we did an OPV. So then to go back, I was mentioning this the last day, that let's say for your project or your assignment, you might have to do, think of several reasons why you're doing something or justify a particular approach. So a CAF might be a sensible thing. Think of 10 reasons or 10 approaches or 10 ideas, and then to pick the best 5. So we picked the best 5. How we prioritize things is called FIP, or first important priorities. So it doesn't, whatever technique you use to generate ideas, the FIP says, how do we judge which is the best idea? I won't do an exercise with you guys, I'll just show you an example.
Sorry, what does FIP stand for?
First important priority, sorry. Perfect. So it's to prioritize. So we recall the situation about a husband and wife going to buy a used car for the family, and we recall that we thought of 10 factors, or we showed an example of 10 factors. So I was doing this very example with some salesmen from Cisco, they're a computer company, and I asked everybody to pick the number 1 reason. Well, we'll do that. Of those 10, which do you think is the most important? So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, or 10. If you had to pick one of them that you would feel is important, most important, which would you think is most important of those 10? Just think about it for a minute yourself, and then I'll ask everybody.
From the point of view that it's a family car.
From the point of view that it's whatever you want, from the point, it's
Sorry, that was a question for
a husband and wife, used car for their family, absolutely indeed, perfect. But whatever, like it's not like there's going to be a right answer to this, it's different people will have a different view on it, hopefully. Unless everybody says the same thing, in which case we'll be very sad and upset and unhappy. We'll give it a go anyway. So has everybody got a number in their mind?
Yeah.
All right, sure, we'll do this side again. So what number would you say?
1, because if that doesn't work out, then you don't get a car.
That's true indeed. Great, yes sir.
I was going to say, so exactly the same. It seems so obvious, but make sure the person who's selling the car actually owns the car.
Perfect, this could be good.
5 to all cars.
Perfect, behind you.
I think we'll define as well.
Perfect,
6,
lovely,
6,
perfect,
5,
great.
1, 7,
Good,
2,
okay,
3,
great.
9.
2, 5, 6, 5.
Perfect, so then we're hearing 5 as being a big issue. What the hell will do everyone? Go on.
1.
Perfect, excellent. You two are a perfect couple. Great. Yes, sir. 3, excellent. Great. 7, good. First time for 7, thank you. Great. Excellent. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Right. 10. Oh my God. Great. Thank you. Great. Excellent. 9. Great. 1 for 9. Thank you.
I think 9 is covered 5 as well.
9 and 5 as well. You're just being greedy.
9 would cover 5. It's
9 would cover 5. You're absolutely right. 9 would cover 5. All mechanical parts working. All you need to do is put €100 in the glove compartment, and then that covers 9 quite well, but not necessarily 5. That's what I didn't know how to do that until this documentary explained it to me. I didn't even know you were supposed to put €100 in the glove compartment. I really, oh dear. I had no idea about these things. Yes, ma'am. Great. Excellent. You just came here, so great. Okay. 5. Back row. Great. Great. Excellent. 1, yeah, I think it's fairly serious. Great. So here we go. So if we had taken down that, we'd have counted the number of votes that each person said. We'd have said, it's not that I counted them automatically or something. This is answers I prepared earlier. So then we just pick the top 3 answers, let's say, or the top 5, and we'd say that's number 1, that's number 2, and that's number 3. Interestingly enough, because it was salesmen, the colour of the car was a big thing for them, which just shows what salesmen are like. Is it big enough for a family? Exactly, I think that was your question about the family. And then, is it easy to get replacement parts? Was definitely a big one as well. There isn't a right answer necessarily, but I think this is a nice non-conflicting way to achieve a consensus within a group. So if we're saying as a group in our group project, here are some issues, and we want to pick the best of them. Everybody votes, we count the votes, and then we just put them down in that order.
Yeah, but
Three is the same as 1.
3. If your group is a bunch of cretins, yeah, absolutely indeed. Yeah. 3 is the same as 1, the type and colour and the person. What? 3 is the same?
as opposed to
Yeah.
the person selling it owns it or it hasn't been in the trash.
Just because somebody disagrees with you, though, doesn't make them a cretin, like. I'm sorry, but particularly if a lot of people say one way, and I don't mean that in a small way, I mean in a big way.
A lot of people can be idiots.
A lot of people can, but that's okay.
Other knowledge. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like,
They might have other knowledge as well that you don't have, though, so it's,
But if you
that
find
the
it
type and colour of a car, that's going to be the nicest chicken coop in the field because it doesn't work.
absolutely.
if you find enough people to buy your idiotic products,
Yeah.
who cares if they're idiots?
That's if you're selling it, but
Yes.
my husband and wife are buying it.
Absolutely indeed. I definitely think this is the thing.
The husband isn't buying.
The husband is never buying, is he really? Like, groups of people, whether particular, if you work in groups, you will think everybody else in your group is an idiot, but you have to wear it anyway, because that's the point of working in groups. I can guarantee you, having worked in software teams, I worked with a lot of people I thought were stupid and whose ideas I didn't think made any sense, but there's an element where you go along with some of them, and then you just fight with some of them, but it's to pick your battles as well, because there's no point, because there's a lot of things that I don't see value in that other people do, and I just go, right, I choose to see that as not a failure of my own, but I just think like, well, I don't see the benefit of that, but if other people do, that's up to them. Let them. It's, and yeah, I know inside myself I would think they're absolute cretins and morons, but we try not to say that in public too much. Perfect. So then we could do an FIP on choosing your hairstyle, but we won't. All right. So this one is very interesting, I think. What this particular technique reminds me a lot of is, occasionally as an IT consultant I was asked, what would happen if we move our mail server from a licensed product to an open source product, or our web server to open source, or our printer servers to open source, or our operating system to open source. So can you tell us what would happen in the future? Now, as a computer scientist, I have many skills, but telling the future really isn't one of them. Not that Edward de Bono has invented a way of telling the future, but at least he's developed a technique of putting a bit of structure on the future. So the way de Bono structures the future is he says, worry about the short-term consequences. They should be fairly easy to predict. Then from there, figure out what the medium-term ones are. then from there, the long-term ones are just going to be a big guess anyway. It's a bit like the weather. Weathermen can fairly accurately predict the weather now or an hour ago. A minute from now, they're probably okay at guessing. An hour from now, they have no idea what it's going to be like. And a week from now, there's absolutely no chance of guessing it.
It's just kind of contradict you. You know the recent floods in Dublin?
Yes.
The weather department seemingly knew 7 days ahead
Yes.
that it was going to happen.
Absolutely.
And they were, nobody did really anything about it.
Absolutely, indeed. But then the Wednesday following that, they said there could be equally as bad floods again, and there wasn't. So I would have had students working in the Dublin Meteorological Service writing programs for them, and it's just it really is hard to predict. Like you can be right 7 times out of 10 fairly well, but it's just a really tricky one to predict. I know they do get the big ones right usually, but on the other hand, when it has to be summarised down to a news summary, they kind of just have to say rain and scattered showers, because that covers everything anyway. So it's a tricky job. So just to explain how to do it, it's exactly like the PMI. You take a piece of paper, you divide it into 3 parts. You just write down short term, medium term, and long term. I'll go through an example with you guys. Oh, crap, that's a big rabbit. Or a very small man. One of the two. No, that's the world's largest rabbit.
Sure, it's not.
Tiny. It is Tiny the rabbit. So let's say, my favourite example, an Australian man introduces rabbits into the country to provide hunting for his friends. I like this as an idea because nothing to declare, where somebody brings in a mat and they go, oh my god, this mat could devastate our crops. Oh my god, this mass could devastate our economy. Like, I think they're a bit panicky and over-exaggerating when they find, and I like it then when the passenger goes, but I've brought this in 10 times before and I've never had a problem with it. So it's like, I definitely think they're big ninnies in terms of they always panic when they see a little bug on something and they go, oh my god, this could give us Ebola or something like that. Give me a break, like. All right, so if the scenario was rabbits into Australia, in the short term, this is a suggestion, the people would have plenty to shoot at, the rabbits would be an alternative source of food, lots of fun would be had, and I guess lots of guns sold. So we're not saying a positives or minuses, we're just saying that's what had happened. In the medium term, of course, the rabbits would have multiplied and they'd have become a pest. And does anyone know at what rate rabbits breed?
That's scary.
Abundant, nice. A lot, yes, I like it. Anything else?
They breed like rabbits.
They breed like rabbits. Oh. That's where that phrase comes from. I see.
You have rabbits?
Here's what I prepared earlier. Rabbits breed approximately in this order: 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. Does anyone know that one? That's the Fibonacci number sequence. So each number in the sequence is the sum of the previous numbers. 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8, 5 and 8 is 13, 13 and 8 is 21, 13 and 21 is 34, etc., etc., etc. So this Italian mathematician in the 15th century, I think, Giovanni Fibonacci, just started adding up these numbers and just kept adding up the 2 numbers previous to it. In the Da Vinci Code, the secret code that's used to open the bank security vault is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. 13, I think, is in it as well. So they talk about the Fibonacci number sequence in the Da Vinci Code. Now, if you divide 3 by 2, or 5 by 3, or 5 into 8, 8 into 13, 13 and 21, 21 and 34, etc., etc., the more you divide, the more that tends towards a number which is 1.618, which is a magic number. It's called the phi, absolutely, or the golden ratio is another term for it. So this thing, the golden ratio, appears a lot in nature. No more than rabbits breeding. I think it's pulsars or something have this kind of relationship when they explode. This value 1 is to 1.68 foolscap. Old foolscap paper was, if you measured the height as being 1 unit, the length of it was 1.618. Flower seeds in sunflowers have this style of ratios. 1 seed, then 2, then 3, then 5, then 8. Seashells as well seem to follow a similar kind of pattern. The God number, some people call it indeed. It seems to be all over nature anyway, gold. And lots of artists seem to have known about it. Da Vinci definitely used it in the Mona Lisa. Vitruvian Man, definitely indeed. No, that's not the Pantheon, that's the Acropolis. No, it's the Pantheon. Mona Lisa's face has it. Vitruvian Man, absolutely. So then, oh, well, that's 1 is to 1.618. If you take away the box that represents the 1 is to 1, you have the 0.68 and the 1, and that is the exact same ratio again. And if you take away a box again, you've still got the same ratio over and over again. Seashells, lots of conch shells seem to have this in them as well. Sunflower seeds definitely, massively. Shells like that seem to have them in them. Skip one. Hermione Granger. Yeah. Lots of different things in nature appear to have this very pattern in it for some strange reason. So rabbits multiplying, isn't that is quite a mathematical thing. And then in the long term, we've got rabbits spread all over Australia. All the crops are damaged. It's an absolute disaster. So just because this guy secretly imported rabbits into Australia. So this is taking a kind of negative view of what could have happened. We could propose a positive view instead.
That's actually true though, isn't it?
What's that?
Australia is overrun by rabbits every few years.
Absolutely indeed. Oh, absolutely indeed. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But it's not like their economy is ever destroyed by it either. They're usually okay with it. So I'm going to give you a scenario, a thing, a situation. I want you to think about what would happen within the first month, just the first month, if this thing happened. So just to clarify about the short term, medium term and long term, that can represent any time scale. If we're thinking about geological ages, a short term would be 1,000,000 years, a medium term could be 100 million years, and a long term could be 10,000 million years for geology. Whereas for a computer processing time, a nanosecond could be short term, microsecond could be medium term, and a second could be long term for computer processors. So the scale depends on the context. The context I'm going to give you is the first month. The first month after somebody invents a handheld device that you're guaranteed to immediately tell if somebody's lying or telling the truth. What happens in the first month? So, that could happen. Could happen. So we're not going to have judicial reform or the legal system changed. We're not going to have the political system changed in a month. What happens in the first month?
All the politicians get fired.
In a month, these people are masters at not lying but not telling the truth, so they have huge skills in terms of this. What happens to the inventor in a month? This is just the short term now, so think. I'd say let's do 3 minutes of thinking about what happens in the short term. Back to Ludwiko. Grant. All right. So, start at the front row if that's all right. Tell us some good news about our lie detecting device.
Consequences?
Yes, please.
Short term. Conversation, though very minimal.
Conversation. Excellent. Yes, ma'am.
Relationships are tested.
Relationships are tested. Why do you think people are lying in relationships? Okay. I hope not. Yes, sir.
This was a bit sexist, so I apologise, but you might finally get a straight answer from a one.
Moving swiftly on. Yes, sir.
People might start telling the truth more.
Yeah, I love your heart. I think that's a wonderful perspective on life. I wish it was true. Yes, sir.
Kids use it to catch other parents.
Oh, very good, very good. Excellent, excellent. bringing yourself too much into things here a bit, maybe? Yes? Yes, sir.
Maybe, well, that could reduce the law system that exists already, actually. So,
Absolutely, indeed, yeah, absolutely. It exists already.
yeah, you can check if someone
Is lying or not.
yeah,
Absolutely. They're not very reliable, though, the ones that exist at the moment. Does anybody know who invented the lie detector, the galvanic response lie detector? It was a comic book writer. William Moulton Marsden, under the pen name of Charles Moulton, wrote a comic book about somebody whose superpower was to tell if somebody's lying or not. Wonder Woman, absolutely indeed. So Wonder Woman has this lasso of truth. He was a psychologist and did work for the military as well and developed the galvanic response detection, the lie detectors that we have now, absolutely invented by Wonder Woman's creator. Excellent. Trivia.
People just might try to get rid of them, have them banned or remove them.
Absolutely indeed. These civil liberty loonies. Yes, sir. The loony left.
I find it difficult to talk to people I don't like.
Very good, absolutely indeed. So we're not talking anymore, no? Oh, man, no.
well, advertising ends, all advertising ends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a Dudley Moore movie called Crazy People where they did real advertising, like Volvo, boxy but safe and things like that. Do you remember that? Yeah, you could do real advertising.
Lie detector goes viral like on YouTube and Facebook.
Absolutely, indeed, absolutely, yes.
I practice really, really hard to beat it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, indeed. Absolutely, indeed. There was an American gentleman who had been convicted of multiple murders, and really he was convicted on the basis of a lie detector. Later DNA evidence showed that he hadn't been guilty. He wrote a book, 27 Ways to Fool a Lie Detector, and they're very effective. The only one I can remember, which I always think is useful, I'm not sure how useful, but if somebody asks you, did you murder the person? Say yes, all right? Then bite the corner of your tongue and stamp hard on your right foot. Even if you're sitting down, just stamp as hard as you can, and that'll cause a spike that'll look like you're lying. So if you say, yes, I did murder them, then you could fool the lie detector. Oh, I like it, I like it, I like it. Not that anybody here is planning to murder anybody, right? Which are yeah, maybe. Great. Okay.
A cultural shift in the way we communicate with one another.
Absolutely, indeed, and I definitely think it would be starting in a month, and by a year it's going to be metastasized. Absolutely, indeed. Does my bum look big in this? That kind of thing. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
The criminal justice system changed dramatically.
Yes. Absolutely. And again, I think that in the medium term, it's to have time to make those reforms. That there would be fundamental changes to it. We'll do one more roll, if that's okay.
Absolute chaos.
Absolute chaos, indeed. It's not long term. You have to take it easy. Yes, ma'am.
The inventor becomes an immediate national celebrity.
National celebrity or murdered, I think, would be more likely. But yeah, national celebrity is a possibility as well.
Divorce rates start to grow.
Oh, why? Like, why would couples be lying to each other? Are you a married man? Yeah, there you go. That makes perfect sense. So, yes, ma'am. That's your problem, dude. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
People's self-esteem will start to drop. Because if I was to say, does my arse look big enough? And we just like, yeah, it does. So people's self-esteem will gradually go down.
It looks great. Trust me. Yeah, that's hopefully true. Yes, sir. Jeremy Kyle will be changed forever. Look, mate, you need to get a job and sort yourself out, me, man. Oh, man, if somebody could shoot him, that would be good indeed. Yes.
DNA testing clinics would be booked out.
DNA testing. I'm going to glide over that one. Yes.
Results are published to Facebook.
Oh, brilliant indeed. WikiLeaks, FaceLeaks.
The lie detector testers would have to retrain.
Absolutely indeed. Very good, very good. Okay, so now we're going to think about looking at the issues you've heard from other people and thinking about your own. Move on a year. So what's happened to a year? The medium term. So think about what this device is there. It's out there. There's the iPhone app version of it. What's going on for a year? Give it a go. All right, 10 seconds to go, please. sure I don't need to tell you guys. The games people play, that song is based on a book that a psychologist wrote in the 50s about how relationships work and such like that. Games people play. Eric Byrne's book, The Games People Play. So Joe Souther wrote that book, based it on that song. So all the scenarios in the song are based on things in your mind's transactional analysis model of learning. Anyway, here we go. We're thinking about a year after this device is invented. Yes, sir?
Can the consequences be like positive?
Either. Whatever you like, it's up to you.
Well, I would say like for example, like there could be a huge increase in sales.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely. That's
Supposed to like get divorced and everything else.
yeah, well, like, it's just that these people in the front 3 rows are very sad, angry people. That's okay, that's okay. No offense, guys. Okay. I don't understand why. Does Santa the Tooth Fairy lie or something? I don't understand that. I'm not sure I understand that. Yes, ma'am.
Only sociopaths or saints will be elected to public office.
So nothing will change, really. Excellent. Yes, sir.
People's social relationships will be redefined, different tribes, those who lie, those who don't mind lying, those who don't want to be lied to.
Very good. Absolutely. And I think you'd be able to move between those tribes, maybe even wearing a badge today saying, I will be lying today or I won't be lying today. I think that'd be perfectly okay.
Somebody started working on a device to block this.
Totally. So I think if nobody does, we'll do it. Yes, please. Keep it clean now.
Oh, the show Lied to Me would maybe.
Oh, very good. Lied to me, yeah, with what's your man, the English actor? Yeah, he's brilliant. I love that. Micro expressions.
Apple will release the I Lie Now.
I lie now. Brilliant. I love it. Yes, ma'am.
The economy would get better because the black economy is going to
Disappear. I like it. Very sad. Yes, ma'am.
The impact on news and media and how they report on like either politicians or celebrities.
Absolutely.
Expose things easier.
Big time. That would be very interesting. Yes, sir.
I think it would be taken off the mass market very quickly. I think
Yes.
it would be the ultimate tool of a totalitarian state.
Yes.
It would be Orwellian, it would be thought crime, you know.
Absolutely, indeed.
It would be very an evil because it wouldn't be used in a mass market sense, but it would be buried very quickly.
Yes.
But it would be still used. Once they got you in a room, they would use it.
Excellent. Like the water-powered car and all those other things, and the
Yeah.
cures for the cold that they have, but they're keeping them away from us. Absolutely, indeed.
But it would level that whole playing field. You couldn't have a dictator sitting on the top. Because as soon as he told a lie, society would crumble.
Well, either that or he'd get soldiers to shoot anybody who objected. There's always that with dictators as well.
But if they got in shooting them,
Yes.
they'd find out very quickly.
Absolutely, indeed. Hopefully. Who?
It's still like money and it's still like power. So, I mean,
The only way
back in the
Someone would come out to invent an anti-truth product.
Absolutely, indeed. So
Balance.
the dictator would develop some tool. The only way we'd find out is by doing it. So let's set up our own dictatorship and then we'll see how we get on. All right. Yes. Since you sneezed, yes, please.
Sorry.
Not at all.
The truth becomes inverted. People start lying as a way of telling the truth.
Oh, brilliant. Wow, that's very good. Yes.
People who know sign language would be able to get away with a lot.
Absolutely, indeed. Yes.
Chat show concept would either be more interesting or less interesting.
This is true. That would be fun to see.
I think that the novelty would have worn off by the end of the year. There would be mostly just mothers and state bodies would be used.
The two most evil groups in the world, basically. No offense, mother. Mother, what are you saying to me? Yes. All right. Back row.
I was just thinking about the social welfare.
Yes.
Would be a lot more straightforward.
Absolutely. No filling out forms or doing silly things. Absolutely.
And if you shape towards communication through different media, anything that would bypass the actual.
Absolutely. Sign language, Twitter, anything basically. Brilliant. Yes, sir.
If you had a counselling business, your business would skyrocket. People won't be coming to you for counselling.
because of the eroded self-esteem and all that, absolutely indeed.
I go around telling white lies all the time just to piss people off.
Very good, absolutely, just to bust the machines by overlying it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's probably going to discipline people more because they'll be installed in classrooms, homes, and businesses.
Disciplining people, okay, I like it, I like it. I like where you're going.
Yeah, I suspect competitor companies will have entered the market by the end of year one to make a device as popular.
Absolutely indeed, but cheaper and more smaller and whatever, brilliant. Yes, sir.
Could be domestic behavioural shifts in the way.
I'm scared.
Possibly if people start to realise that they might, they can't be caught out. They'll always be caught out. They might make a conscious effort to be a little bit more honest.
In terms of married couples and things.
Yeah.
Are you a married man?
General behaviour might improve a little.
I see. Are you a married man? No, okay. I think married people are very devoted to each other and don't like each other at all anyway, so that's my take on life. I'm going to stick with that until I get married. Okay. All right, so then we'll think about 10 years into the future. So look at your medium-term ones, look at them in a year, and extrapolate forward from that. What's going to have happened in 10 years' time? You'll have had plenty of time, let's say, to reform political systems, judicial systems, relationship stuff, divorce courts, politics, yeah, for sure. Anything else? Teaching, if you want to look at that. Environmentally kind of issues. How would the technology have improved in 10 years? What impact is this having on the environment? Those kinds of questions. Back to Joe Salt. The long-term consequences, so start the back, that's all right.
Divorce lawyer courses in college skyrocket.
Oh, no, really? Why?
Because they're divvying up.
Okay, very good.
I have inventor enters rehab after a lengthy period of living off champagne and cocaine.
I like it.
Again, sells the story to the tabloids. The film is made of his life, and once again he's very famous and rich again.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Excellent, well done, well done. Yes.
Anti-truth telling device outstrips the truth telling device for the first time.
Perfect, absolutely indeed. In sales and in probably power as well. Next row, one behind you.
Memory and attention management is taught in primary school.
Oh dear me, tough stuff.
Plastic surgery industries and
Oh,
all
that's a big loss for the world, I don't think.
We'll allow you to talk again face to face.
Learn to talk again face to face, very good. It'll take 10 years. Yes, please.
Movies are made about life before the device.
Absolutely. In the olden days, like in Shakespearean time kind of things, yeah, absolutely.
Any money in Africa goes to the right cause instead of going to the hands of
Absolutely indeed. That would be wonderful. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Same it was everywhere.
religious people and silent communities with the only truly happy group.
Absolutely indeed. Everybody joins a vow of silence.
George Washington revealed a liar.
Oh no! George Washington famously said, "I cannot tell a lie. I cut down the cherry tree," when he cut down his father's cherry tree. He also grew hemp, kept slaves, and was a Freemason. And lied. But that's neither here nor there.
I think it would be just total chaos and it's the end of the world.
Okay.
10 years since enough.
Perfect.
A lot of the excitement of the uncertainty of media would be gone, so there would be no kind of back and forth arguments anymore or anything. It would just all that be gone.
Absolutely. So the dialectic debate is forget about it.
People will have bigger bottoms.
People will have bigger bottoms. All right, got it.
Perhaps new tools in political systems were already in use.
Absolutely indeed. Like the Greek government. They could tell the truth about their debt. Or our bankers. Yes, sir.
World peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Teenagers' lives become very boring indeed.
What's that?
Teenagers' lives.
Teenager lives become very boring. Brilliant. Very good. Excellent. All right. All right. So for your guys' projects, I hope it's clear how you'd be using this. Part of your project, I guess, is to say you're creating a forecast. You're going to have to create some kind of rollout plan for your project. Is that correct? So then doing a consequences of equals, just thinking about how you think about how it rolls out is just think about the short term and think of a few ideas for that. Each member of the group, put them together, pick the ones you like, lay it out as medium term and long term. You don't necessarily have to articulate it as short term, medium term, or long term. Just say, as soon as the product hits the ground, or this is the kind of promotion we want to do in it, or this is how we envisage it being advertised. That's the short term. Then it's, and this is how we see it could be productized, or this is how we'd monetize it in the medium term, and in the long term, this is how the massive number of customers we could get from it. Does that kind of make sense? Excellent. We'll do another one. So we'll do a wacky new technique. This is called aims, goals, and objectives. Although I don't get too excited about the aims and goals. We'll just worry about the objectives for the moment. So we'll focus on the objectives. If the objectives are recognizable points along the way or things that you want to achieve. So as an example, as an example, if a developer is building a new shopping center, the developer has multiple objectives to achieve. Some of them are complementary, but others are contradictory to each other. So let's look at their objectives only. They want to make a profit for certain. They also want to make a successful shopping centre. They also want to please shoppers in the way the building is built and how crowd flows through it. But they also have to fit in with regulatory and legislative authorities. They have to build the building so that it stays up. They also have to work well in time and within budget. So making a profit and following the planning authorities can be sometimes contradictory. So it is important to recognize organizations, projects, anything really has multiple goals going on in it, and some of them create a tension between each other. As long as you've recognized and enumerated what the issues or objectives are, at least then you know where the tension is coming from within projects and processes. Do you know what I'm saying? So what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to show you a particular organization, and I'd like to think of 6 objectives you might think they have. Just 6. So 6 objectives that you think the police force have. What stuff does the police do? Chase swans? Anybody? This is Hot Fuzz. Has anyone seen that movie, Hot Fuzz? Nick Peck and Simon Frost? That's definitely one thing they do. Chase swans. No. Seriously not. So we'll do it in the back. I'm afraid again one more time. Something about that the police force do.
Maintain the upkeep of the law.
Maintain the upkeep of the law. Robocop prom directive number 1, in fact. Thank you very much. Excellent.
One of them is keep the crime rates low.
Keep the crime rates low. Very good. Thank you.
Keep the peace.
Keep the peace. Excellent. Thank you.
Get paid.
What's that?
Get paid.
Get paid. Absolutely. You know, it's the goal for all of us.
Documentation.
Very good. Absolutely indeed. So they have that's one of their social functions. Great.
Protect citizens.
Protect citizens. Interesting concept. Yeah.
Dealing with accidents and people out.
Definitely dealing with accidents. Absolutely.
Try to facilitate traffic flow.
Very good. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, great. Prevent smuggling. That's a good show on TV about that at the moment.
Do you want serious or funny?
Funny, please.
Okay. To turn off Arrestings video recorders.
If only they could do it right when there's poor protesters and Mayo, of course. Silly gooses. Yes, ma'am. Provide information as the New York policeman. Do I look like a map without the swearing?
Control large groups.
Control large groups, and like, let's even put it in a nicer social function. At GAA football matches, to do crowd control and just are generally around to help out, and at concerts and things like that, they just help out.
Just like criminals.
Absolutely, indeed, that's one of their big ones.
Be faster than the swan.
Be faster than the swan, very good. Yes, sir. Okay, very good.
Maintain borders.
Maintain borders, yes. Maintain fitness levels. Absolutely, indeed, very good.
Civil education for young kids.
Very good, and that's a big element, I guess, going into schools and talking to kids.
Be able to enforce the letter of the law as distinct from just the law.
Absolutely, very good.
That's ego.
Absolutely.
To protect and serve.
Protect and serve, that's directive number 2 in Robocop, thank you.
Maintain the power system.
Maintain the power system. Is this an anarchist I'm hearing here by any chance? Very good.
Not necessarily my own idea.
Who told you? Was there a voice in your head? Aliens.
Make money for government with tax and entity catch down. You know, roadblocks that are.
Oh, absolutely, indeed. I mean, they have deep donuts as well, you know, absolutely.
Protect the rich.
To protect the rich, absolutely, indeed. I want to be that rich.
Make sure tourists get a better perception of the force and the country compared to the perceptions of the citizens and dwellers.
Absolutely, indeed. Sell us well to other people, yeah, right.
Just random checks on alcohol and check your insurance and tax, etc.
Absolutely, indeed. So in general, we'd say that's, I don't know, safety on the roads. Great.
I'm pretty much that same, maintaining status quo.
Absolutely, indeed.
Reduce crime rates.
Reduce crime rates, good concept.
I don't know how true this is, but implement a corruption-free system.
Implement a corruption-free system. If you don't know how true it is, that's interesting. I guess that is an objective of them at least, yeah.
Speed up protesters?
Beat up protesters. I would love that job, like the shield, the stick, the helmet, the hemp wearing. Absolutely. Oh, this could be such fun. Yes.
I'm not sure this is correct, but the running of a prison,
Did you which?
the running of a prison.
The running of prison. Well, they would liaise with the prison services to do that. Absolutely right. Yes, ma'am.
To keep order on things.
Keep order on things. Very good.
Ensure good public image.
Absolutely, public image. Yeah.
To maintain their own internal system through hierarchy and regulations.
Absolutely, indeed.
Minimise their own paperwork.
Minimise their own paperwork, dude. We're all there on that one. Yes, sir.
To provide a state-sponsored dating agency.
At Coppers.
I saw it there yesterday, just walking along, and people were cycling on the path.
Oh. Nice way to meet people, you know.
Yeah, it's a great way.
Absolutely. Like it.
To be available 24/7.
Absolutely, indeed, to be available.
Security for politicians, head of states.
Very good. Very good, absolutely.
To have a steady job.
To have a steady job, absolutely.
Wear a uniform.
To wear a uniform, and that means an awful lot. I think if we think of what a uniform, wearing a uniform means, what it means is, since soldiers have worn them, it means 2 things. It means, number 1, I'm showing you what I am, whereas criminals obviously don't wear uniforms. The other thing it is if I get killed, somebody else will put on this uniform and replace me. So the idea of any kind of costume or uniform has profound, I think, ceremonial as well as, but anybody wearing a peaked cap gives a special sense of authority to them as well. Of course, there is that. You see, anybody with a hat, it's just like a total sense of authority they get. Brilliant. Yes, sir.
Stroll the streets, hunting one another.
Stroll the streets doing what to each other?
Hunting one another.
Hunting one another. Really? Do police do that? I did not know. Great. Round up. Absolutely, indeed. You're bringing a lot of your personal experience in, I take it. Yes, ma'am. Prosecute criminals, great.
Maintain or improve their statistics.
Absolutely, indeed.
Improve community relationships.
Brilliant, and I deliberately put up this one because this one in particular, Hot Fuzz, it's all about their liaising with the neighbourhood watch and the community watch. Edward Woodward is in charge of their community watch in this movie, and they talk to them a lot.
Investigate complaints made to them by citizens.
Absolutely, indeed, very good.
Uphold the law.
Uphold the law, right?
Obey the laws be enforced.
Let's say. Excellent.
To remain strong in state's emergency.
Absolutely, indeed.
To help facilitate public events.
Very good.
To mediate, like to sort out arguments.
Absolutely, indeed. Particularly between neighbours and things like that. Right, so I'm pleased, relatively pleased, that nobody said to stop crime. So, no, did people say to stop crime? No, because crime rates, yes, that's definitely one thing, but the police aren't legally required to stop crime. I wasn't aware of this until a few years ago. A woman was mugged in Trafalgar Square in London, and she was mugged in the middle of the square. There was a policeman looking on while it happened. He did nothing, so she took him to court and sued him for not attempting to intervene, and it was kicked out immediately because the judge said, well, police have no legal requirement to stop a crime occurring. It's not their job at all. They're not required to intervene when a crime occurs. Their job is after it's happened to try and catch the criminal. But particularly if you'd be putting yourself in any kind of danger, they have slightly less responsibility than a regular citizen does to stop a crime, which is interesting, because I think, like every profession, it's like I was saying the last time about defence and prosecutor. The defence lawyer in a case doesn't have to believe the person is innocent. The prosecution doesn't have to believe they're guilty. They have roles to fulfill in terms of the judicial process. Similarly with the police, they are not required to stop crime occurring. They're required to stop a reoccurrence of it. So let's say the crime prevention unit, that's the same as dentists have a prevention role to their job. So dentists tell you, don't drink Coca-Cola, but they're not going to follow you, and if you get a bottle of Coke in your hand, they're not going to grab it and pull it out of your hand, because they don't do prevention in that sense. And that's the same with the police. They're not required to do it. They can if they want, but it's not a legal requirement. It's interesting, once you know a job, how different it is.
The guards in Ireland actually are acting illegally in whatever they do, because they're actually enforcing the maritime law instead of the law of the land.
Yes.
And we're living on the land.
Absolutely.
And our whole law system is actually based off maritime law, and it's not applicable to us. You have to loophole it.
Yes.
You have to say a certain thing when you go into court and say, I want to be tried under the law of the land.
Absolutely,
and
indeed.
You can't actually. Then you have to get a lawyer that knows all about that, and you can.
Absolutely, indeed. Absolutely. So because we were a colony of Britain and they were a maritime principality, all of their laws were maritime laws originally, because we inherited common law from them, and we still have common law, that means. And broadly speaking, if the Irish flag has a gold fringe around the edge, it means you're being tried under maritime law. If it doesn't have a fringe, it's not under maritime law. So it's two totally different legal systems you're tried under. With maritime law, clearly you can have drumheads or summary, like Diplock course in Northern Ireland, whereas on the law of the land, you're not supposed to do things like that. So it normally doesn't come up too much of an issue, because exactly as you said, when you go into court, particularly when you swear, or it's even said when the judge comes in, that it is what type of law it's being judged under. But it is quite a complicated and confusing thing if you look into it. And equally, in the same way, let's face it, Britain went bankrupt in 1923, and the City of London, the bankers, loaned a bunch of money to get them out of it. So technically, the British government has no authority to make decisions. Technically, the City of London, the bankers, actually own the country because they bought them out of it. So a lot of things happen that are legal, that are just, yeah, well, we'll just pretend that didn't happen. So it is amazing how law happens and doesn't happen.
It's the same when you get a letter and your name is in all capital letters, it's representing a corporation, not a person.
Absolutely, indeed, because that is true. When you are born, your birth certificate is not a certificate that a person is born, it's the creation of a corporation. So there's other ways to prosecute a corporation than there is a person. If we look at a country like Canada, where they've boiled down their laws to about a 450-page book, and it's a small book, like kind of a Bible, and all of their laws are in that, whereas we have a very complex law, precedent-based, obviously, So that means if a judge in some circuit court in a rural county makes a judgment, somebody else elsewhere in Ireland can use that as a precedent to say, well, that judge made that ruling, so this court has to address why that ruling is wrong in this circumstance but right in that circumstance. Where in other countries, precedent just doesn't matter. And in the US, for example, one state can say if somebody has excessive testosterone, it's not their fault that they killed somebody or are doing GBH all the time. Whereas in the neighbouring state, a judge can say, well, if they have excessive testosterone, they're programmed to be a lunatic, so it's as well to lock them up for life. So in one state they can be let go, and in another they can be locked up for life for the same defence, because there's no precedence across states. So the law is very complicated. As I say, Canada is one of the simpler ones. It's just, this is the law and this is it. If I go into a shop and a label says £5 for a Lulu Guinness bag, they have to sell me the bag for £5 because the amount on a label in a shop in Canada is the amount they're saying is for sale. Whereas in Ireland, the amount says on a label for a bag is an offer for sale. It's saying, will you offer me this amount? So if it's wrong, they just say, well, no, that's the opening offer now. Raise that from £5 to £500, and then you've got a deal. So there's quite a big difference.
That new law that changed, because I know when I was studying it a while long time ago.
Yes.
Like, you went to the shop, it said 10 years. They had to charge £10.
Yes.
It was £10.
They had to, yeah.
They couldn't.
Absolutely.
They made a mistake, it's their problem.
Yeah. No, it's changed now. Now it's an offer for sale. It's not a sale. So yeah. That was set by there was a number of precedents because ridiculous situations had occurred, and then as well the Grocery Bill Act, I think of 1992, it was that law that changed it, I think. All right, let's take a look at our watches/telephones. Let's add the number 20 minutes onto that and come back here in 20 minutes. I can't guarantee I'll be here in 20 minutes, but if you're all waiting here in 20 minutes, I can run in and do stuff. Just specifically, I want to spend a minute focusing on your project that you're doing. You guys are doing a group project, right? A couple of them, excellent. So then, in terms of this, what I'm thinking specifically for these techniques, you want to have a paragraph called critical thinking or reflection or whatever, reflections, and you identify the benefits of the approach you took, the shortcomings of the approach you took, and what alternatives you could have undertaken. You don't need to necessarily articulate it as a PMI per se, just have those 3 paragraphs in it, unless you're required to specifically say it's PMI, but nothing impresses an examiner more than seeing, oh wow, they're critical of their own work, or they're identifying what else they could have done. So that's easy marks. Most of these projects, you get marks for reflection or critical thinking or whatever, so throwing in a PMI makes perfect sense, it seems to me. You can use the CAF in a couple of different places, I guess, in all your projects. You're going to have to enumerate reasons why you picked a particular choice, benefits of the approach, reasons why you picked a particular technology, particular product, particular approach to bring it to market, whatever your kinds of projects are about. So do a CAF, think of a bunch of ideas and just pick the best 3 or 4 of the bunch of ideas you have. I'm not sure if I said this last time, but there's nothing more boring for me as a lecturer than reading people writing out a rationale for why they took a particular approach if the rationale is exactly the same as everybody else's assignment. So by the time I've corrected assignment number 10 and I'm reading the exact same thing over and over again, because the CAF says it, everybody has the same 3 or 4 pat answers for every kind of thing. I think I said it the last time, and this is absurdly technical, but anyway, if you were trying to explain why you did it in Java, you're going to say because Java works on the web, because it's interoperable, because there's a load of Java documentation out there, because it parses XML documents easily, because blah, 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 blah. And there's 5 things that I could say off the top of my head that if I ask my students to explain why they pick Java, they say those exact 5 things. So I feel like this is boring for me. Whereas if somebody did a CAF, thought of 10 reasons, maybe number 9 or 10 was something different, but that was reason number 1. pick the best 5 of those 10 reasons, and then I'm reading something and feeling like I'm connecting with this assignment, like there's a brain behind what's being said. Do you know what I mean? So that's,
Should you always put the kind of the unusual one first, isn't it?
I think around the first or second, just to give it a bit of life, and then the lecture is you've caught them off guard, and you've set up something quite interesting and different. OPVs, other people's views, I guess, if you want to articulate how the various members of the group interacted with each other, how they saw the assignment, how they expressed what they felt, and to, if you are doing group projects, to set it out that you're doing a group project and to show that there was different views and to highlight the benefit of the alternative perspectives that were being offered. And again, I wouldn't necessarily call it other people's views. I'd say group work and just have different people's names, colon, and a bit of quote from them about the project. That'd be really good. First important priorities, as we know, is selecting the best 5 out of 10. So you're going to do that on a group, non-confrontational way. Then consequences and sequels. If you have to forecast or do some kind of plan or layout, how would you roll this product out to market? Is that part of any of your projects that you have to say something about what will happen in the future?
Not yet.
Not yet. It definitely will be. So then again, you don't need to say consequences equals. You don't need to say short term, medium term, or long term. You can just say, this is what it'll be like in 1 month. This is what it'll be like in 1 year. This is what it'll be like in 10 years. Or this is the immediate advertising marketing approach. This is the long term, blah, 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 whatever. Unless, of course, you're asked to specifically identify and articulate the specific techniques, in which case is perfectly fine. Australian man. And then clearly set out the objectives in terms of what you want the project, the tool, the process to do. And don't be afraid to highlight, well, 3 of the objectives are pushing in the same direction, whereas 1 is pushing in a different direction. So that's interesting how we manage the tension between them. What I would say is this as well, and I made this point already. Different people, I'm throwing a load of techniques at you guys so that different people hopefully take different ones off it. So some people in the group will like some technique, others will like other techniques. Hopefully between the lot of you, there'll be a collection of them. Not all of them, nobody wants that, but at least there'll be a few different techniques in play, so you'll see how different people have strengths and weaknesses in the different approaches. Does that kind of make sense?
Sorry, how does the project work? Individual or group?
As far as I know, for most of your projects, they're group-based, unfortunately.
Are you giving us a specific project?
I'm not giving you a specific project, no. Unless you'd like me to, in which case, invent something to make me really, really rich, please. Would be good. So we're going to look at one more technique, the last one, which is alternatives, possibilities, and choices. Don't write down anything in a minute, but we're going to look at a video first, because that's much more fun. Well, it's much better because I don't have to talk, which is even better. So what I want to do is show you a video, which is an interesting video, because this gentleman called Daniel Pink wrote a book called Drive in 2009. Has anybody seen it? Drive is just the name of it. It was in the bookshops, if you read it by any chance. So he gave a speech about it. I don't know, I can't remember what it was at. And this company called RSA Animate got an artist to draw pictures to go along with what he's saying in the speech. A month after the speech was recorded, this whiteboard artist drew pictures to accompany the speech. I think it's very interesting. A couple of the points that are made in the speech are highly relevant to what we're going to be discussing in a moment. So sit back, relax, enjoy the movie. 2009. I might just Pink, P-I-N-K, like the color, but exactly like the color. Ooh, sorry, I've woken up a few people. Sorry from your nap. Just want to point out a few probably minor issues to make sure we're on the same page in terms of this stuff. All right. This is incorrect anyway, and nobody thinks this in the real world. If you reward people, you get more behavior. That is true, but there is no researcher, no psychologist, no sociologist who thinks punishing somebody diminishes behavior. Except for parents, yeah. But look at Super Nanny. What does Super Nanny always say? She says there's no point punishing them. Like putting them on the naughty step is about as much of a punishment, but shouting at them doesn't work.
There's an economist called Tim Harford actually who's written a book. Well, he's probably written loads of books. It's the only one that I've read his, and it touches on this. But he looked at states in America,
Yeah.
whereby juveniles get punished severely.
Yes. Yes.
And compared that with states where they don't get punished so
Yeah.
severely, and to see whether the age of whether the crime rate would drop in that demographic,
Yes.
just as they were about to turn 18 or 17 or whatever, and he did find that it had a correlation.
Absolutely. Sure. No, it absolutely depends on the type of punishment and all of that. Definitely, for sure. But absolutely, indeed. The general findings in terms of how people learn, though, at least, is that the punishing them confuses them a lot. So if they're grown up enough to understand the reasons why, it's fine. But punishment can be quite a disruptive thing in general. So it's better to just ignore bad behavior or not reward it. Remove, let's say, positive things, but not to punish in a negative way too much.
It's like the criminal justice system. If you look at if you look almost a Western Hemisphere country, and you look at the repeat crime rates.
Yes.
I mean, okay, it's also based on the environment which they go back into.
Absolutely.
The rates are like there doesn't seem to be any correlation between the punishment given out and the chance that that's going to reduce those people committing crime.
Absolutely, because I think people, like some jails in particular, or countries aren't big into rehabilitation. They don't want to upskill people. They just want to put them in jail as a kind of revenge motive. I think it all depends on what you're trying to do it for. Certainly there's a Texan warden who puts people on chain gangs and makes them wear pink costumes, and that works very effectively for those people. They always go, well, we're never doing that again. So it varies a bit.
There was, I can't remember where I heard it, but they were saying that the American government have basically reinvented slavery by having their three strike system.
Yes.
So they're basically putting literally millions of people in jail to do slave labour.
Absolutely.
So they can compete against China.
I think they do get 5 cents a month.
Yeah.
It's not complete slave labour.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, though. Absolutely, and that's not even a conspiracy theory. Like that's a fairly well-held economic view on things. That it's basic slave labour. Yes.
Sort of say that does it not cost something like $1,400 or something per week to house it and like that?
Absolutely, indeed. But they are producing good materials as well. Like they're producing, and some of them are producing quite sophisticated stuff. Like they arrest the odd owl computer programmer, and then they get serious business.
If you want to stop punishment and you remove a reward,
Yes.
it's still a punishment within a team situation. Because if you've one underachiever,
Yes.
but everyone else on the team are actually giving extremely positive results,
Yes.
it's a punishment.
That the one underachiever is pulling everyone else down.
Or that one underachiever isn't rewarded.
Absolutely, indeed. Absolutely. And that's.
I don't think that person is going to. There is a situation where that person isn't going to pull up their socks.
Yes. I think that's the nature of working in teams anyway. Like I've certainly worked with lots of teams, and teams are crap, but there is never going to be a job where you're not working in a team, so you just have to kind of suck it in and go, well, there's always going to be one dickhead who's not pulling their weight. So if you don't know who it is, that kind of thing. Like, and I think that's about it. And I think, I'm sure even with the teamwork you guys will be doing, people will have other busy stuff going on in their lives, and they won't be contributing as much. And then if we look at something like Belbin's roles in teams, so Meredith Belbin, she was a psychologist, looked at different roles that people have in teams and said, there are some roles people play that aren't evident because they don't produce work, but they serve very important roles. There's the social worker who kind of oils the wheels between conflict, so they just keep everyone calm and stop people getting in fights. So that's not a productive thing, evidently, but it keeps teams working together. So it's a whole interesting area. Somebody else had their hand up, I think. Yes.
Yeah, just about school children, they say that punishment doesn't amount to anything but to show them how to behave with the behaviour you want.
Absolutely, indeed.
School environment is much more beneficial.
Definitely, indeed. Any other takers?
Also, like Google, like they've done it since the very start, where was it 20% of your time is given over to your own projects.
Absolutely, indeed.
People are already being well enough paid anyway. That's where they get their.
There
It's not based on financial reward. It's based on just something you want to do yourself.
Self-esteem, they get their yeah-yeahs. Absolutely, indeed. So, what's the company called here? Where are we? Before that, there we are. Atlassian. Where are we? No, it's after this. There we go. So have a look up that company's name just to get an idea of what they do. There's plenty of articles on the web about them. Atlassian, so it's Atlas with an S-I-A-N at it. Absolutely, indeed, and we know how well capitalism works. We've just seen, like, capitalism works fine if you're really rich. If you're really rich, even if you lose all your money, they'll give you it back. Whereas if you're not that rich, so bondholders in Germany and France get all their money paid back to them, whereas it's a conspiracy. All right, I want to talk about the 3M way, which is very close to the Google way. 3M are a company who, anytime you talk about innovation, they're mentioned. So they're into everything. Hands up who's seen this logo or heard of 3M? Okay, everybody has. Excellent. All right. So it's the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company. That's what the 3M stand for, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. So they were a mining company who used to dig sand out of sand pits. That was the job. That's where they started off in 1902. By 1910, they started gluing sand onto pieces of paper and made sandpaper. So they used to sell sandpaper to garages. Our story begins with a gentleman called Richard Drew. Richard Drew was one of the chemists who worked in 3M. He invented masking tape, cellophane, and duct tape during his time there. So he invented these things. Here's the story of masking tape. Does everyone know what masking tape is? It's not the stuff you kidnap people with, it's the other stuff. About 3 people went, yeah. Be afraid. Okay, so masking tape, how did that happen? 3M, as I said, they sold sandpaper. They weren't getting the adhesive on the sandpaper quite right, so it was too weak. So when you'd rub down something with the piece of sandpaper, all the sand would fall off. So that wasn't good enough. So they were testing various adhesives to make it sticky enough that it worked, but not too sticky that it stuck on for good. So Richard Drew was one of the people who was going around to different garages that they had sent test packets of sandpaper to see how effective it was working. Does everyone know what I'm saying? I sometimes wonder if I'm speaking in English or Klingon. At the time, Richard Drew went to a particular garage. The garage was doing a two-tone painting of cars. So two-tone means, well, it's black on the bottom and white on the top. That's what it means. Most of you probably wouldn't be familiar with this kind of car from 1923, hopefully. How they used to do it is they'd put a load of paper on the bottom, tape it with a thick tape, paint that, pull off the tape, which would sometimes pull off a load of paint, cover the painted side with big butcher paper, big thick paper, tape it with a big plaster tape, paint the bottom, pull that off, and that would pull a load of paint off as well. So the way they used to do two-tone painting, which was really popular, Al Capone liked it. This is how it was done. exactly like really how modern cars are painted, same kind of thing. Cover a bit, paint the rest. Yeah. So the garage was complaining about the fact that this was a problem, and this is the key point. Rather than just go, well, there's people complaining about something, Richard Drew decided to do something about it. This is my core belief about invention. Invention and creativity is no problem. Just open your ears, and there's plenty of opportunity for invention around. Anytime you hear anybody complaining about something, or saying there's a problem, or looking around in your own life and seeing things that are a problem, there's no mystery on how to think of new processes or approaches or innovations. They're out there. It's just a matter of deciding, oh, I'm picking this one and I'm going to do something about it. It's easy to produce ideas. The hard bit is doing something about them. So because they were working on adhesives anyway, Richard Drew figured he'd try and build a kind of tape that you could stick on paper that would peel off easily enough so that it wouldn't tear the paint off as well and ruin the two-tone job. Now, we know how this story ends. We know the story ends with the invention of masking tape. But actually, the really interesting part of the story is how we got there. So how we got there is William McKnight, who's considered a god in terms of management, particularly in the management of innovation-led organizations. So William McKnight was the CEO of 3M at the time. He happened to notice that this chap, Richard Drew, wasn't doing his job at all, wasn't doing any work on sandpaper testing, and was fiddling around doing the masking tape project when he should have been doing the job he was paid to do. So McKnight asked him, would you mind actually doing your job for a while instead of doing whatever this thing is? And Richard Drew said, sure, I will, and then kept on working on this masking tape project during his working hours in the middle of using the lab resources for it. So William McKnight had to tell him, I think, 14 times to stop doing it. And your man kept on doing it, Richard Drew. I think he got disciplined a couple of times for doing it as well, wasting company time. Anyway, after it went on and on, eventually the CEO of the company said, oh yeah, grand, just keep on, go ahead and do it anyway. Which is a happy ending for the company because masking tape was invented 92 years later, and lo and behold, 3M sold millions and millions and millions and millions of rolls of masking tape because McKnight eventually just copped on and went, well, okay, if this is how employees work, let's let them have their head in terms of this. So he said a very famous quote, which I'm going to read out in total. As our business grows, it becomes increasingly necessary to delegate responsibility and to encourage men and women to exercise their initiative. This requires considerable tolerance. Those men and women to whom we delegate authority and responsibility, if they are good people, are willing to want to do their jobs in their own way. Mistakes will be made, but if a person is essentially right, the mistakes he or she makes are not as serious in the long run as the mistakes management will make if it undertakes to tell those in authority exactly how they must do their jobs. Management that is destructively critical when mistakes are made kills initiative, and it's essential that we have many people with initiative if we are going to continue to grow. So this statement is considered the McKnight way, the 3M way. It's considered a manifesto of innovative organizations. So 3M do a lot of excellent things as a consequence of this. It's called the McKnight way or the 3M way. For example, like a lot of computer companies are doing now, 15% of all employees' time is allowed on whatever project they want to do themselves. As long as, same as Daniel Pink was saying, they report their findings at the end of the project. It's slightly less than a day a week they're allowed to do whatever they want in the 3M company, which is really excellent in some ways, but sometimes people within the organization view that as slightly wasteful because you're paying people for a 5-day week and they're only working 4 and a bit days a week because the other day they're inventing things that may or may not be effective.
Does that mean that whatever you invent within that 50% of time allocated the company owns?
Well, definitely, of course, because they're giving you the resources and tools to do it. So for sure, the company owns it, but they have a nice partnership relationship. We'll get to it, don't worry about it. Something very interesting happened to this company in 2001. Somebody who was not from an innovative organization background became the CEO of the company, James McNary, and he felt that this innovation approach was very wasteful, and he sacked 8,000 workers. He chopped the research and development budgets significantly, and then he said everybody had to adhere to a time and motion, a methods, organization and methods approach called Six Sigma. It's a process control technique to ensure everything is being done as efficiently as possible. At the start, he increased profitability. In 2001, because he sacked 8,000 employees, there was 8,000 less salaries. So that was quite good for about a year. After that, it was evident that there was no innovation coming out, and a load of employees who had been sacked and a load of current employees sued 3M and particularly tackled McNerney about his behavior. Some of the ideas were interesting. Some people claimed that the approach was a bit ageist because you have to fill in a load of forms and there's a lot of rushing around. This Six Sigma approach, it's a real time-intensive thing where you're timed, moving from place to place and all that, very silly stuff. By 2005, 4 years later, McNerney was sacked out of the job and George Buckley took over. George Buckley, I think he was the head of Pan Am before he took over 3M. He quickly but quietly just completely turned everything back to the way it was. So he increased the research and development department's budgets. He rehired a lot of employees back, and then he just said this Six Sigma approach is optional, which is basically as good as saying nobody's going to do it anymore. And he restored the 15% of time for innovation. So some of the factory floor people do, so it makes sense for that sort of thing. When you're producing bolts, you want to make sure that it's only 1 in 10,000 bolts that is wrong, absolutely indeed. So we won't explain what Six Sigma is, but if you want to look it up on Wikipedia, just look up in Google, 6 space Sigma space Wikipedia. All right, we'll explain Six Sigma briefly. So all it means is it's an efficiency approach, really. It means that products are 6 standard deviations from the mean accurate. So 3M have been around for 100 years. For a 4-year period there, 2001 to 2005, somebody decided to turn them into a company they weren't, and there was massive resistance, and they got their ass fired out of it. Because companies that have a good tradition of innovation just don't want to be a factory floor. They want to be an innovative organization. Post-it notes, I think, is a great story. So Post-it notes, obviously invented by 3M as well. Developed by 2 people, really. Spencer Silver is one of them, who was a chemist, and Arthur Fry, who was kind of an engineer and a product developer. So get this as a brilliant concept. Spencer Silver invented a glue that didn't really work. So it didn't stick things together at all. Kind of stuck them a little bit together, but didn't really do a great job. So for, 5 years, he went around to all the departments in 3M and said, I've invented a glue that doesn't really work as a glue. Can anyone think of any good use for it? And he went to seminars, went to loads of things, called it low tack or low adhesion, because it just really didn't stick much at all. It was a bit sticky, but not really sticky. So really, for 6 years, he was going around saying, anybody, can anybody think of a good use for this? Arthur Fry attended one of his seminars, and as it happens, he used to sing in the church choir. Now, in the church choir, normally you have a book of hymns, and we're going to sing hymn number 107, number 231, and then back to number 64. So Arthur Fry was saying, this non-sticky stickiness would be perfect as a bookmark. So we'll mark which hymns we're going to be singing this week, and I can flick between them, and maybe I can write 1, 2, 3, 4 on top of the bookmark. So what we know as Post-it notes were originally the product that was wrapped around the low-tack adhesion was a bookmark, and it was going to be marketed as a bookmark. As it happens, both of them noticed that with the prototype bookmarks, they seem to be writing a lot of notes on them and leaving notes on their boss's door and leaving notes around their desk and things like that. So very close to when the product was going to be released as a bookmarking product, they went, hang on a minute, this could be really useful as Post-it notes. So they invented Post-it notes quite by accident. They had them as long, thin things, so they had to scrap that, gave it up for a while and redesigned it as square shape. And obviously the canary yellow color as well is one of the things that 3M have patented. Until the early 90s, nobody could create Post-it notes except 3M, but then in the early 90s their patent ran out, so other companies can call them sticky notes or repositional notes or whatever they want, but you're not allowed to call them Post-it notes unless it's 3M, and you're not allowed to have them that particular shade of canary yellow without being 3M.
On that kind of note, do you know Lush, the store with all the natural products?
Sure.
They have the little magazines that print
Yes.
out, or little newspaper things.
Yes.
I know one of them was they were bringing back pump soap.
Right.
Liquid soap for your hands.
Yes.
And the little comic thing. It's kind of that kind of note of the little squeezy pump thing goes back and
Yes.
it's used to spray specific plant water and things.
Nice.
And their note was something like, if you have something that's not working, it's not working, it's just not doing the right job.
Absolutely, indeed, absolutely. So many things invented. If you could get a copy of that, we'd scan it in. If you could find it, that's exactly right. I think so many inventions, and I always say, texting was invented in case you were running out of credit. Having vibrate on your phone was invented so that if you're in a meeting, you wouldn't disturb the other people. Nobody knew that they were inventing two things quite separately to allow deaf people to use mobile phones to text each other and read text from each other and be able to feel they've got a text message when the vibrate happens. So nobody was thinking, let's modify the mobile phone to make it useful for deaf people when text messaging was invented. They didn't think of that. They didn't think of it for vibrate on the phone either. So serendipitously, those two individual inventions together became how deaf people use mobile phones.
And if they probably did invent it for those particular reasons, they probably wouldn't have been put through because there wasn't a big enough market of deaf people.
Absolutely, and they'd have made a horse's arse of it as well, because they'd have come up with some kind of medically looking grey coloured thing with big buttons, because deaf people are so dumb as well as being deaf, because that's what a lot of disability and teaching. I'm in charge of a master's in assistive technology and do a lot of work in disability, so I know that is the mentality. As soon as something has a assistive technology air around it, suddenly it needs to be hospital colours and like dumbed down a lot. Right, so this is also a big source of invention. Somebody not being afraid to say, I've invented a glue that doesn't really glue, and go around for 6 years to every other employee of their company going, yeah, can anyone think of anything? And damn me, somebody will come along with something. Here's some things that I think make 3M outstanding in what they do. And I think this is very crucial. There are awards that companies give called Employee of the Month, where the management decide which employee is performing excellently. They're a rubbish idea. What 3M do is other engineers vote for which engineer this year came up with the best invention. And that person is inducted into what's called the Carlton Society, so they get there's nice comfy chairs, a butler serves port and cigars. Every once in a while you get to have fun meetings, but you're recognized by your peers as being, you invented something cool. In terms of the management though, if you invent a product that sells 4 million, to get back to your question about, is it, they're given what's called the Golden Step Award. That's an amount of money plus a recognition. It varies from year to year, but it's in the order of millions you're given for that. So they're identifying peer recognition as being important and management recognition as being important. And I think the other thing that I think is very cool is, because I started off as a computer programmer, became an analyst, then I became a software team leader, then I became a manager, then a manager, then a manager, then a manager. Is a lot of jobs, the longer you're in them, the more likely you're to end up being a manager, which if you're not good at being a manager or hate being a manager as I did, there's nothing else to do. Like once you're project team lead, what do you do past that other than be a manager? So what 3M have done, have created a whole new career ladder where if you are an engineer and you're the chief engineer of the department, they'll make you director of engineering and you're still doing engineering work in a lab, you're not doing management, and they have a whole set of grades up that it's still engineering work. You're getting paid more money and getting a better title, but you're still doing what you want to be doing as opposed to be some kind of cockamamie manager ladder. If you want to be a manager, though, they let you do that as well. It's no problem. But I think that's a really interesting idea.
There's also, you're only promoted as far as you're not good.
The Peter Principle, absolutely, indeed. Yes, that's the Peter Principle, absolutely. Well, the Peter Principle says that you get a job that's just one above from what you'd be really good at. And normally, organizations tend to promote people just above their ability. I definitely always think of the show The Office, the American Office. Like, it's clear that in that show, Michael Scott was a great salesman. I mean, he was a great salesman, definitely, but he's not a good manager. So if he had just stayed as assistant to the regional manager or assistant regional manager, he'd be perfect. But he's no good as a manager. He did win the Salesman of the Year twice, so he must have been a great salesman, but just no good as a manager. So just promoted one too high above his job. So just to say it, and I think we've said it, but we'll say it one more time. Invention is thinking of an idea. Invention is fairly easy. Taking that idea and making a technology out of it is a step. Making that technology into a product is a whole other step. Making that product into a business is a whole bloody other thing. Then making that business into a sustainable business over time is a much bigger thing as well. So thinking of the idea, inventing, is fairly easy. Technologizing that is hard. Merchandising that or making it into a product, a repeatable product, is harder. Business and then sustainable business. These are all steps along the way. Inventing is thinking of new ideas. Innovation is bringing it to market. Bringing it to market is such a harder thing to do. It was, in fact, in the famous 1934 book by Joseph Schumpeter that invention and innovation were first distinguished. The theory of economic development and inquiry into profits, capital, credit, interest, and the business cycle. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for reading. It's a bit dry somewhat. The title gives you an idea of the wordiness of the rest of the book, but that's the book that really said innovation and invention are different. Invention, thinking of stuff; innovation, bringing it to market. Until recently, they were closely tied together. So if I invented something, I kind of had to bring it to market. But now you don't have to do that anymore. I can invent something, I can license my patent to somebody else, they can bring it to market for me. People have suggested various ideas about where you want to be in terms of selling a product. The general thought is the first person who brings a product to market has a rotten job to do because they have to explain how it works and explain the new approaches and all that. So let's say the first company that invented touchscreen phones, which wasn't Apple, had to explain what touchscreen worked and all that. And they have to spend a load of money on marketing, and they have to spend a load of money getting their message out there. Once they've done all that, some other company can come along and gazump them, and now that the technology has been invented, they can use that. They know everybody knows what it's about, so they can improve upon that, leapfrogging over the explaining to the market people, and get straight to selling a cool, sexy, hot product.
Where does patents lie in that then?
Perfect, definitely. It depends on how good your patents are. So in software patents, I can speak definitely about. As I see software patents at the moment, if I'm a small company and I write a piece of software that's really novel and excellent, if I write it on a computer, then that computer is running an operating system. Let's say the computer is running Windows. Then Microsoft will come along and say, give us your patent or we'll blow you out of the water. So I see it like, you're a little person on a raft with a little sail. Then Microsoft come along with their pirate ship with 57 cannons pointed at you saying, you used our patented technology to develop your software. And we have 1,000 lawyers that can keep you locked in court for the next 100 years if you don't sell us it. We'll give you $1 million for it, but we want it. So how patents are being used at the moment is big companies are stealing ideas from small companies by using patents. Whereas originally they were envisaged as a way of protecting ideas, they're being used in interesting ways now by organizations. There are problems as well. Let's say whoever invented the automobile invented the idea of a wheel in the front and 4 tires. But whoever did that either didn't patent it, or everybody else who copied. Every other car that's been copied since then, in a sense, is infringing on that originator's idea. Even if it isn't patented, there must be a theft of the idea in a way. So some things are judged to be so common sense that you can't patent them. Even though, let's think about a computer example. Douglas Engelbart, who invented the mouse, did patent the mouse. Once the mouse had been out there in the 80s, they just said, yeah, but too many companies have it already, so it's unenforceable, the patent. So patents are not exactly as you'd expect. They're not a great protection in some ways. Particularly if a big company wants what you've got, forget about it, like you've no defense, because they can have 100 lawyers in a room chasing you. That's interesting, and we'll get on to it.
Is that not the goal of all these small companies?
To get bought out? Absolutely, indeed. And but if Microsoft give you $1 million, is that enough? Is the question. Like if you did actually run the product for a year and your company was valued at $1 billion, and then you got $500 million for it. So it's just to know when to jump is the big thing. It's like the property market. Now would be a good time to invest in the property market, wouldn't it? So it's just to know. No, that's it. So it's to know when to jump is the thing with these companies you set up. In terms of this shape, when somebody invents a new kind of process or technology, 10 to 15% of the people just buy it anyway, no matter what it is. Because there's always people who are called early adopters. So they'll just try out anything anyway. Then about 40 to 50% of people are they show me. Let me see it work first. So if the technology is good, you'll get those people on board. There's going to be 15% of people who are resistors. They won't buy it anyway. So once the early adopters plus the show it to me people are done, your sales are going to flatten out anyway. If I'm Apple and I haven't invented the touchscreen, I haven't invented the mobile phone for God's sake, I haven't invented the fact that if you turn it sideways, it knows to turn sideways, but I'm able to package that in a really great way, then I'm second to market. It's already been explained what a phone is, and a lot of these technologies have been explained. People have a general idea of what they're about. They've seen it on Minority Report and James Bond already, so they have an idea of touchscreeny stuff. So then, and let's say Star Trek The Next Generation, or Star Trek even. So then I'm second to market. The early adopters are going to lap it up anyway, but the show me people have already seen it in action, so I'm able to leapfrog across. If you have a patent, that's the only hope in terms of blocking somebody completely ripping you off and miniaturizing your work and making it a more effective and smooth product. What's happening at the moment, and I think I said it before, is patent lawyers have become very smart and they're able to do quite clever things. So I want to explain this as a funnel. On one end is your organization, and on the other end is the current market. We see 4 stages from inventing something to bringing it to market, and there's a lot of exit routes out of this. So the first thing is thinking of stuff. Thinking of stuff is fairly easy. Thinking of stuff has become much easier, in fact, because now not only can you think of stuff yourself, you can just buy patents. So just go onto the internet. There's from a range of countries, there's a load of patents available online. Patent lawyers can do it now. And patent lawyers can do quite sophisticated licensing. So you can have a product with 100 different companies' licenses going into the same product now, which would be impossible 10 years ago, particularly before the web. It would be impossible to coordinate, and everybody's getting a cent or half a cent for every dollar spent on this particular product. Once you've developed a pile of ideas, so how do you pick ones that are good? It's the FIP, first important priorities. You select good ideas. in terms of seeing what a good idea is, you might look out and see what technologies are out there on the market that you could borrow from as well. So you might be able to do some technology licensing to improve a product idea. I have an idea to build a web, blah, 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 but I need some tools, so I can license that in. Then merchandising or productifying this idea. You'll build prototypes and you'll have a production model after you iterate through a number of prototypes. At that stage, you might need to, again, license somebody else's ideas to make it into a successful product, but you might also be able to sell your intellectual property out, and you might think, all right, well, we're not going to bring this product to market. If somebody else wants to bring it to market, we've built a prototype, but we don't have the setup to mass manufacture it.
So I was just wondering, if you have acquired a piece of technology from someone else,
Licensed or bought.
Or licensed or bought,
Yeah.
and you sell your idea at this stage, does the person who's buying it then hold the license from the person that you bought it for in the first place?
That's a complicated one. One more time, okay? Let's say it's you, me, and you. So, who's invented it in the first place?
Okay, right, so I've got a phone,
Right.
and I want to put a camera on it, so I buy the licensing for the technology for the camera off him.
Perfect.
And then I have this, and they go, well, I can't really afford to bring it to market, so I sell it to you.
Yes.
Do you therefore have the licensing agreement that I made with him?
Well, I don't have it, but you still have to uphold it. So if I sell 50 million cameras, whatever agreement you have with him, if you said 1 cent on every camera sold, you have to uphold that as long as I uphold my end with you. So it depends on how your lawyers negotiate it. If I'm a big company and you're a small company, you're going to get rogered. I'm just telling you that now. Simple as that. You're going to, because that's just it with companies. Big companies screw small companies. It's not all bad, but still. All right, so then the last is bringing it to market. So again, with bringing it to market, something interesting might happen here. There might be some spin-offs in terms of the technology that create a new market. So I said this 2 weeks ago. I see the iPad a bit like that. I think we had the iPhone made sense. People knew what a phone was about. People knew what a laptop was about. But nobody had quite, there wasn't actually a consumer space that, there wasn't anything like the iPad as big time in terms of the sales. There wasn't a market share for that. And that was created by, I guess, well, we knew what the iPhone was and we knew what laptops were. So the Apple Newton and things like that were prototypes for the iPad, but nonetheless, that created a whole new market that had never been there before. And even if you have clip-on things to clip your iPhone onto your belt or apps or whatever the extra things are around an innovation, that's a whole new market that might never have been there before. Does that vaguely make sense? So this is the new reality in terms of businesses. This is how they're doing things now. Great. So we'll do our last creativity technique, APC, alternatives, possibilities, and choices. This is a very simple one in many ways. It's just, if you're presented with a situation, a scenario, or an idea, come up with as many alternative explanations as it is possible. So I'll give you an example that I thought of that I'm not sure it's a great example, but anyway. You arrive at school on Monday morning and you see that the goalposts have been removed from the school pitch. What could have happened? So I'll give you some of the examples I thought of. Number 1, vandals cut them down. Number 2, a car backed into a post, badly splintering it, so it had to be removed for safety's sake. Number 3, the PE teacher had them taken down because they were not regulation size for football. Number 4, the local football team borrowed them for a match. Number 5, a pole vaulter needed some quick practice. Number 6, a jousting contest had to be held over the weekend and nobody wanted to use real lances. And then number 7, a new school building is going to be built on the field and they had to do some ordnance survey on it, so they had to take down the posts. All right. So I'm going to give you a scenario and I want you to think of 5 alternative explanations for this scenario. What I would recommend is to go for as silly, as daft, as ridiculous, as fun ideas as possible. Said it last time, say it this time. It's easier to tame a wild idea than to make a boring idea exciting. So the dafter the idea, the better. All right, so this scenario is this. The brightest girl in class starts making mistakes in her work on purpose. What are the possible explanations? Why is the brightest girl in class? 5 reasons why she's deliberately making mistakes, please. Pray from somebody with their hands up now, please. There, you see, somebody's phoning a friend. Quick, the smartest girl in class is making mistakes. What's it about? Same as I said about the police force. If you're looking at some of your answers, maybe you can break them down into sub-answers. So have a look at them and see if there's a compound kind of situation in some of your answers. I did this recently and somebody had a good answer. They said the school is funded on the basis of how poorly the students are doing. So the poorer they're doing gets more money. So she feels like she needs to. Brilliant, excellent. Very good. Very good, very good. Actually, as I think of it, if anybody's doing the MSc in digital or creative media, you're supposed to sign in. Everybody else, I know you guys are supposed to sign in, but I'm not interested in taking a sign in, so I'm just going to say everybody was here, if that's all right. But if you're doing the MSc, will you sign in, please, afterwards? If you're not, you were here. All right, normally I should wait until 6, but just for this occasion, I'm going to say, give us one reason why she's making mistakes on purpose. She just wanted to skip ahead of you. Brilliant.
She's so intelligent and hates her teacher so much that when she gives the wrong answer, she knows she can argue her anyway.
Very good, excellent. She's rebelling, very good. She won the lotto, excellent, excellent. I'll just say this. Not challenged, excellent. I'll say this one, which I thought was interesting. I was doing this with teachers, and a teacher said, the girl thinks her father would be better suited to marrying the teacher as opposed to her mother. So she wants the parents to come in, the father to run off with the teacher, and then she'll have her. So I was saying to this teacher who was a lady, I was saying, "You're single, aren't you?" She was saying, "Yes, I am." Don't bring yourself into these things too much. That's what I always think. Yes, sir.
She's a makeover attention seeker.
Very good, very good. We've had them all.
She's bored and wants to have some fun.
Absolutely, great.
This one we should relate to is the school has taken rights for intellectual property. So
brilliant. Love it, very good.
She doesn't want to go to France, so she hates flying. And only the high scoring kids in her class, which is the top 10 out of 30, can go, and her parents are French.
Brilliant, very good, excellent.
She doesn't want to go to college, she'd rather stay at home and just watch TV.
Excellent, who wouldn't?
She fancies the class geek, so she wants lessons.
She wants to dumb down for him.
Pretty much, yeah.
Brilliant.
It could be strategic, she's just going to hold him back to see who her nearest rival in the class is.
Excellent, absolutely, very good.
Playing a game, wants to see other people action.
Absolutely, indeed. Very good.
She wants to get one-on-one time with teachers.
Don't bring yourself too much into this now. I've said it already. Thanks a million. Okay. Yes.
She wants to get with the dumb kid.
She wants to get with a dumb kid. That dumb kid, okay.
She has this plan with her friend that she don't win a lot of money if she does.
Absolutely, she has a bet. Excellent.
She noticed the student beside her copying her, so she gave all the wrong answers.
Very good. Very good. So the teacher will know where they came from. Excellent.
She wants to be moved to another class because she fancies the guy in the other class.
Excellent. Okay, very good.
She doesn't want to have to go to school, she wants to join the circus.
She wants to join the circus. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Her best mate is stupid. The lady is on the curve, so she's trying to shallow the curve.
That's very nice of her.
She wants to win the class prize for most improved student.
Very good. Very good. Yes, sir.
Wants to fit in, be accepted in the proper crowd.
Absolutely.
Fail a test, / has to grind teachers' fancies.
Again, don't bring yourself too much into this. Like, it's embarrassing for me. It's embarrassing for everybody. If you could see the look of pure horror on this gentleman's face, it's unbelievable. Like, oh my God. Yes, ma'am. I hope it looks like horror. Brilliant. Absolutely, indeed.
She was deliberately targeted for probing the aliens was one of the best advisors trying to actually persuade them.
Brilliant. Very good.
She's protesting against the perceived reward punishment scenario.
Very good.
She's been on more like playing World of Warcraft.
Oh, well, we've all been there, absolutely, yes, sir.
She's being bullied for being courageous. She wants to come down.
Very good, yes. Not good, but possible. Yes, ma'am.
She prefers detention than going home.
She prefers detention than going home. Do you know why that, in your mind, why that is?
She might have problems at home.
Okay, excellent, indeed, indeed.
She wants to address or highlight a bad teaching practice.
Excellent, very good.
She's a masochist.
She's masochist, we've all been there. Yes, ma'am.
She's being clever about being dumb to mislead the competition.
She's been clever about being dumb, very good, thank you.
She wants to know her parents.
She wants to know her parents, I think that's always going to be a good one.
She wants to try out role reversal, some sort of intellectual endeavour.
Excellent, very good, yeah.
She knows who history is copying here, and she doesn't know how to confront her about it, so she writes down mistakes. So history doesn't get in the schools and she doesn't.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's an excellent one.
She's so bright that she realised the futility of stuff that they're trying to teach.
Very good, very good.
See if anybody's paying attention.
See if anyone's paying attention. All right, we'll go across. What row were we on? We had done this row, so one back now.
It's actually not her, it's her evil twin. It was just escaped and stolen her identity.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is in a show about that this season on Sky. Yes?
She thinks the teacher doesn't know the answers and is using her as a prop. She's not playing ball anymore.
Same thing, like, don't bring yourself too much into this. Like, I definitely don't know the answers for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Just feels school is a total waste of time. She's not interested. She wants to leave and just do what she wants to do.
Excellent. Yes, ma'am. Keep it clean.
She wants to experience how to be a loser.
Okay, excellent. I like it.
There's a prize for being the biggest improver.
Excellent, absolutely, very good. Yes, sir.
Testing the matrix.
Testing the matrix.
So she suddenly saw through the matrix and she's testing.
Absolutely. Deja vu, glitches in the matrix. It could be all through. Yes, sir.
She's bored of being right all the time.
Absolutely, indeed. It's tough.
She wants to move to another school and she wants to show her parents that the school is not good enough.
Absolutely, indeed. Great.
She's been abducted by aliens and replaced by a functioning android who fancies the teacher and wants to reveal a true identity.
That's combining all of them together. Very good, very good, very good indeed. All right. So there we have it. Again, alternative possibilities and choices, hopefully for your projects, it should be obvious or evident why you'd want to identify a range of alternative approaches, a range of alternative routes to market, a range of alternative designs for your websites, whatever it is. So just to think about the alternatives. I wouldn't necessarily articulate it by saying APC. If you want to say something like, a range of alternatives were considered during this project, including blah, 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 blah. Just say it like that. Say it as background, say it as alternatives, whatever you want, but just to use these tools and techniques during the projects. I think they can be quite helpful in many ways. I see by the clock it's 5 o'clock, so let's all take a break and go home. Thank you very much again.